What is up, everybody? Thank you for being patient here as we get the show started. You'll see why the show has a bit more technical element than previous episodes. We have a lot of guests on tonight, and we're going to bring them in essentially one by one, two a little bit later in the show. But we have a really fun show planned for you tonight, episode 191 of Ginger Runner Live.
We're getting up there.
We're getting up there.
We're almost at 200.
I can't believe it.
That's pretty crazy.
I'm a little bummed that the numbers didn't work out where we'd reach 200 just before we moved into 2018. But I think that's the same thing it was with episode 100, is that it happened right after the new year.
That's
also,
right.
Kim's computer, because it's been my computers for the last 2 months that have just basically kicked the bucket.
Basically, Ethan's MacBook died, took it in to get fixed, picked it up. 3 days later, my MacBook died. So we're dealing with a dead... Well, it's actually not dead. Oh, it's moving.
It's possessed, is what it is. The mouse is active and doing things on her computer that she has no... It's not hacked. It's not like been taken over.
It's a trackpad.
It's a trackpad thing. So this is going to be an interesting night. Kim is going to be in the chat room tonight on her phone, but she'll try to get as many of the questions through as possible.
So as usual, I will be pulling questions from the live chat room, but just please be patient, you guys. I do my best to try and basically pause my screen on a question when I get it, so it'll be a little bit
just a little bit patient on the questions tonight, but we're really excited because we have a number of guests. We wanted to talk about firsts, basically first marathons, first 50Ks, first ultra, that sort of thing. We've been celebrating the community, the viewers, for the last few months now, just talking about people's firsts, and we've had a number of elites on the show, but I really want to hear from viewers. So tonight I reached out to a handful of viewers. There's been many firsts in the last few weekends by people running their first 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, and beyond into the ultra world. And it's been incredible to celebrate. We just reached out to a handful of people today to get viewers who watch the show regularly and support the channel and to talk about their first. So we have a number of guests that we're going to be joined with tonight. Later in the show, Andrew and Mandy Baker are going to talk to us about their very first 50K. I'm excited to have them on. Aaron Davis is going to join us here in just a little bit to talk about his first marathon at the Rock and Roll San Antonio race. And we're going to be joined here in just a few moments by John Morissette, who's going to tell us all about the Tark Fells Winter Ultra 50K, which was his first 50K. And he is currently on call. So if he gets called away on a 911 call, he will have to leave. So we're going to have him as our first guest here in just a moment. But welcome, everyone, to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 191. I believe the music will play and work. 92? This is 191.
Oh, okay.
I hope the music plays because I think I got some technical things worked out. But welcome, everyone. Let's get the show started. Ginger Runner.
Yay!
What is up, everybody? Thank you for taking the time out of your busy Mondays or whenever you're listening to this to spend a little bit of it with us tonight. Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 191. We're getting up there. Tonight, a special show. We've been wanting to celebrate firsts here. The last few months, Kim and I have been reaching out to the community, to the viewers, the supporters of the channel, and we've been asking, have you recently run a first distance of some sort? Maybe it's your first half marathon, 10K, 5K, first marathon, 50K, first 100-miler. We've had an incredible amount of response from people celebrating their first victory at a specific distance. And it's been so cool to see that this community, this viewership, is comprised of so many unique individuals at different levels of their running game and different parts of their journey. And it's been really cool to celebrate all of it.
Yeah, the diversity is huge.
Yeah, we have viewers that had just trained and finished their first 50K. I will talk about what's going on here in a second. Don't worry. People who've just finished their first 5K, 10K. And on tonight's show, we're actually going to be graced by viewers themselves. They're going to be coming onto the show to talk to us about their first experience. We're going to talk first with John Morissette about his first 50K, which he just ran. Then a little bit later in the show, we're going to talk to Aaron Davis about his first marathon, which he just ran in San Antonio. Then we'll be joined by Andrew and Mandy Baker, who are going to tell us a little bit about their first 50Ks, which they ran separately, but very, very recently. And I'm excited to kind of hear the different stories because these are regular runners, just like Kim and myself, that are doing incredible things. And I think it needs to be celebrated and talked about. And I think this is going to be a really, really fun show tonight.
And people in our chat room are already talking about their first race experiences. And we have a regular viewer, Kim Wrinkle, in the chat room says, haha, my first marathon was in 1975 at age 16.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool, Kim. Kim, also a longtime viewer and regular supporter of the show. Kim Wrinkle, big shout out to you, sir, in Silverton, Colorado. Great pictures and video coming out of there, by the way.
Yes.
Winter is in full effect. Just so everyone knows what's going on technically behind the scenes here, Kim, of course, you're grabbing questions.
Yes, doing my best to grab questions.
Why your best?
So my trackpad on my MacBook is damaged.
It's currently going haywire.
It's going a little.
It's currently opening up a bunch of applications.
Hasn't been working for days. I've been trying to get it to work to see if it I was like, maybe it just had moisture and it needs to dry or something, whatever. I opened it today and it started to work relatively normal. So I was like, that's great. I'll have my laptop for the show on Monday. And just when I opened it just before the show, it decided it's going to be crazy again. It is now opening dictionaries and
let's solve that problem by just shutting that clamshell. That computer is not going to be joining us tonight, but Kim's phone will be working. She is currently in the chat room live, and she'll be trying to hold on to the questions.
So if you guys see me on my phone, I'm not Instagramming. I don't know why I was like doodling. I don't doodle on my phone.
So if you have a question for any of our guests tonight, or a fun comment or anything like that, Kim, we'll turn the tables to you, because I know the chat room moves quite fast on the mobile device. So if you find a question or anything like that, we'll get it in there.
And I think we'll try and have your chat room kind of in eyesight as well.
Yep.
So we'll do our best.
We'll do our best here with the limited tech. That being said, we have to shout out our top tier Patreon supporters who are continuing to make this show happen month after month at the top tier, which is a big, incredible thing. And we can't thank them enough. So we shout them out at the beginning and the end of every Ginger Runner live show on Mondays. So, of course, first of all, Chris Lee in Hong Kong. Chris has become a great friend. We've been communicating now for almost a year, and he is creating this incredible organization over in Hong Kong called Trailblazer, where he's organizing events, and they're actually having the grand opening here this month. I'm making a video for him right now because I think it's fantastic. He basically started this incredible community of trail runners in Hong Kong to showcase the incredible trails that are within 15-20 minutes of the city, and he's finally able to release this cool website and all this information to the public. He's going to be doing a big grand unveiling here soon in the next month or so, and check the Facebook page and stuff like that for that when it happens, because Chris has been working really, really hard, and I can't wait to show you guys what he's been working on. Brian Sands, longtime supporter at the top tier. Brian Sands ran his first marathon on October 8th, has already signed up for his first 50K. So we had him on the show after his first marathon. Can't wait to have him back on the show to talk to him after his first 50K, which will be happening. So Brian Sands, just an incredible supporter. So big shout out to him. And of course, Rick Bjarnason, who comes to us from British Columbia. And we've been working pretty closely on a new website for Ginger Runner. He and his team are incredibly talented, and we're coming up with something special and spicy for Ginger Miss. So Ginger Miss
I'm excited.
Yeah, we're basically creating something really small and quick for Ginger Miss, and then the new Ginger Runner website will come eventually. They're doing an incredible job of like holding my hand through the process, because creating a new website is awful. It is awful unless you do that for a living, in which case I can understand that it's much easier. I am not versed well in that. So gingerrunner.com will have a complete overhaul thanks to these guys. I'm really, really excited about that. cheekymonkey.ca is their website. You can check out all their work and stuff like that. Okay.
A lot of people suggesting I just get a mouse and plug it in. We don't have one in this house, and I couldn't get one in time for the show.
Yeah. Hey, guys, just so you know, it's the future, and a lot of people don't have plug-in mice.
Right. It's kind of crazy.
I say that and I'm like, actually, who doesn't have a plug-in mouse?
We apparently don't in all of the tech stuff that we have here.
Our only plug-in device is a Wacom tablet that I use for my graphic design, and Kim can't use it. It's actually pretty difficult to use. Yeah, it's just, trust me, you don't want to see that. All right, enough of the pre-show, enough of all the talk. I want to introduce our first guest, Mr. John Morissette, who just completed his very first 50K. John, I'm excited to give you a round of applause.
Yay!
Thank you.
Where are you coming to us from?
Enfield, Connecticut.
So you, this was your first 50K. What sort of running and stuff like that had you done before this?
I've completed 5 marathons, and then a handful of, halves and tons of 5Ks. So
have you always been a runner?
I ran a lot in middle school and high school. I didn't do track or cross country or anything like that. And then I started running again in my late 20s, early 30s, and kept on going from there.
I want to remind the live audience that John is, of course, on call right now. He's a paramedic, and if for some reason he gets a call, he's going to have to dash, but we're going to try to get as many questions into him as possible. So I'm curious, John, what took you from, you've run 5 marathons, it's a good amount of marathons. What took you from the marathons to the trails? Because I know that it's usually a jump that a lot of people make, but what was the big draw for you?
Ginger runner. Really, I mean, I'd run a couple of marathons and decide I want to keep pushing and seeing what else I could do. And, you know, the next natural progression is to head out on the trails. So
was there anything that you did differently in this case that, like, compared to your marathon training, was there anything that you did specifically for the 50K?
Well, I just did my regular marathon training, started a marathon in October. And then I kind of piggybacked off of Jim's. He was trying to do that 1,000,000 feet of climb or whatever.
Yeah.
So I tried to do like a mini version, like 10,000 feet of climb. And I added a bunch of climb into it, and that was really kind of it.
Yeah. Did that feel different? Because when I trained for my first 50K, it was weird to do the mileages on trail and take into account elevation.
Yeah, I was doing long runs on the trails and then just doing hill repeats on this basically one mountain that's kind of in my area, and just kept going up and down and up and down. And I mean, I don't climb. It's basically flat where I am. So climbing was very different.
And what made you choose this race?
It just kind of worked out time frame. Didn't want to be too close to the marathon. Relatively close to me. It was actually just north of Boston. So it was about an hour and a half from me. And it seemed like fun.
Sweet. I want to remind everyone we are live, and I think, Kim, you have a live question.
You just asked.
Did I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it was a very similar question. I think Cheryl in chat room had asked, "What's your best advice for picking a first 50K?" So you had asked, "Why did you pick this first 50?"
Well, I think I think that's still a valid question. In that, John, this is something that I love to ask first timers, people who are jumping into the ultra world. Was there a connection to this race in like specifically, like, was it location or your history with it, or what is it? I guess, like, we've been talking a lot about this ourselves, but the why. What was your why to get you through the distance?
There wasn't anything specific for this race. It was literally just a matter of logistics and timing. Actually getting through the race, it was just trying to prove to myself that I had the grit to get through it. And I just want to see how far I could push myself and push my running and push my body and push my mind and see what else I could do.
Sweet. What was the most difficult part for you?
Oh man, the third lap, it was a 4 8-mile loops. And the third loop, I had basically was on my own. I had followed a pack for the first 2 loops, and just trying to keep track of the trail, keep track of the terrain, because it's a fairly technical route. I sprained my ankle during the training, so I was kind of nursing the ankle, trying to protect it. So it was all just a bunch of things all at once, and every step seemed to hurt. And just trying to keep my head into it and just moving forward. That was for sure the hard part on that third loop.
Sweet. We have some live questions. Kim, go for it.
Yeah, similar questions from Stefan and Morgan in the chat room. How did you feel yourself during this race versus marathon?
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit easier just because the pace is so much slower. And then, like I said, that third loop, just everything kind of started to hurt a lot more. My quads hurt a lot more than I'm used to on the marathons. But overall, I came back into the aid stations feeling relatively good. Sat down for a couple minutes, got some food, and kept on going.
So you're technically an ultra runner now, which I think is pretty awesome. You can now wear the badge with pride. What was the best part about it for you?
That sense of, all right, I've only got to get through this next half mile, 3/4 of a mile.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to be done. I just need to get down off the other side of this hill and know that I'm going to be done, and actually crossing and knowing that I've accomplished it and proved to myself and everyone else that I can do it, and I'm going to do it again.
That was actually the next question. I was curious, are you going to do an ultra again? Is a 50K something that you would like to take the challenge again, or thinking beyond that? What's next for John?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do more. Kind of got a race that I'm kind of aiming for in April, as well as another marathon, and then kind of hoping for maybe a 50-miler in the fall, and take it from there. Keep progressing, hopefully.
John, I think it's fantastic what you did. Big ups to you, my friend. And what do your coworkers think?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Because I'm curious, because you work. I mean, we have major respect for paramedics. What you do and your service is fantastic. You save lives, and you guys are some of the toughest out there, right? What do your coworkers think? Are they like, "What are you doing? What is this crazy running?" Or are they impressed?
Yeah, most of them just think I'm nuts. I told them I was going to go run 32 miles, and they're like, "I'm not running to the end of the hallway."
That's awesome.
So yeah, I think that they're great, and they are obviously good at what they do, and they all encourage me that after they get done saying, "You're nuts," they say, "Good luck."
I think it's fantastic. John Morissette just completed the Tarkfels Winter Ultra 50K. Technically, that is well over a marathon. So you, my friend, are an ultra runner, and I think that's fantastic. So John, congratulations, my friend. Well done. We're going to bring in our next guest, but before I'll just introduce him while he's waiting, but we're going to do the quickie question quiz with John before we let John go. But Aaron Davis has just joined us, and we're going to be talking to him about his first marathon. But John, before we let you go back to work saving lives, this is a quickie question quiz. It's the abbreviated quickie question quiz, so it's like the quickest quickie question quiz, since we do have multiple guests tonight. First answer that comes to your mind, we'll rip through it as fast as we can. Where is your favorite place to run currently?
The trails at Soapstone Mountain in Stafford, Connecticut.
What is a current bucket list race for you?
Ooh, Vermont 50.
Guilty pleasure TV show.
I went on this binge of watching all of the Gilmore Girls series.
That's awesome.
You've watched them.
No, I don't know what you're talking about, Lorelei.
It's okay.
What was your pre-race meal before the 50K?
The night before, I had a little mini pizza at this place that we found in, I think, Medford, Mass.
And your post-race indulgence?
Oh, buffalo wings and beer.
Great choice. John Morissette, congratulations to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your work shift. Go save some lives, my friend.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too, man. Go ahead.
I just need to bounce out really quick. There's somebody is scratching at the door.
Oh boy, Gus needs to deposit is what I was going to say. That's like the worst combo of words. Why did that come to mind? Oh boy. So while Kim does that, I'm going to introduce our next guest tonight, Aaron Davis. Aaron, where are you coming to us from?
Hey, Ethan, I'm from, in San Antonio, Texas.
Love it. You just completed your very first marathon, the Rock and Roll San Antonio Marathon. And like another viewer of the show, regular supporter of the show, my friend, need to give you a round of applause. Nice job. How are you feeling?
Thank you.
You're fresh off of this thing. How was it?
I am, and it was fun. It was pretty brutal, but I mean, it's still so fresh that it's kind of hard to put into eloquent words at this point in time. But I had a really good time. It's my second rock and roll event, and they put on a pretty solid event, as far as I can tell. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Now, I'm just warning you, it's a slippery slope. You're going to become addicted to these things. You do one, you're going to do a lot more than that. That's just right. Kind of how it goes. But I'm like, I always try to think back to my first marathon and try to remember what I went through the week before, the month before. For you, what was that buildup like? Was it riddled with anxiety, or were you really excited? What was your buildup to running your first marathon?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I feel like my buildup to yesterday has been going for about a year and a half, because I actually signed up for the Rock and Roll Marathon last year. I signed up for the full, and in fact, I have the bib that says full on the bib because I switched last minute. So last year I signed up for the full. My training went horrible. I was just using a plan I found online, and was undertrained when I got to the expo, and so I switched. This year, my buildup was significantly better. I got a training plan. Actually, I got, through your show, through Ginger Runner Live, I got connected to David Roach.
Yep.
And got a plan from him, and started working and getting a little bit of feedback here and there from him. And it really helped a lot. And coming up to about, 3 weeks to a month out, I started having some IT band issues. So anxiety was really a heavy thing that last month, as far as feeling like my long runs were not going well. I was having all kinds of trouble, and so I did have to deal with some of that. That was tough. That was tough for me.
For your, we get this question a lot. People may be asking some of our guests kind of the specifics, but for you, what was your longest run, and did it help build the confidence at all, or did it make you more nervous? Because I remember being pretty nervous after that first or the longest run of the training cycle. What was it like for you?
Yeah. So I, about a little over a month out, I was doing like 16 and 18 milers. And honestly, those were freaking me out, because I remember the first time I went 16 miles, I was like pulling out all the gas to get to 16.
Yeah.
And then the next week I had to do 18, and I felt paranoid. And then I had to do 20. And actually 20 for me worked out a lot better. I don't know what it was, but everything clicked on that day. Nutrition and everything seemed to be going smooth. And so the 20 miler really put some confidence in me, that I could do it. I was like, okay, great. Just a 10K, on top of this, and I should be able to do that. So 20 was actually the longest I completed. It was not the longest in my plan, but the week after 20, I got a stomach virus.
Oh.
And then the first long run after that is when my IT band I started having issues. So I kind of downward spiraled at the end of training after putting in a really solid effort, I felt like, on my part. And so then all of a sudden, even 20 miles seemed daunting, at that point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's still days where, 20 miles is still a long ways to go. You think about, 30 miles or 50 miles or 100-mile races. 20 miles is still a long ways to go. You're still out there for hours and hours. So I'm really curious, for you, when you're towing the line for your first marathon, you start off, what was the kind of advice that you were getting from people who have run marathons before? Like, I'm always really curious because I dish out advice, but I'm curious what sort of advice you got.
Sure. Yeah. Most everyone was telling me just to have fun. That was the common theme, just have fun, just enjoy yourself. I had a goal in mind, a goal that I was training for, and that I felt like I was on pretty solid pace for. And, but people kept telling me to forget about that,
sure.
And to just get to the finish line, and to just to have fun. So that was the main, the main advice. I got a little bit of advice here and there on shoes. I had 2 pairs of road shoes that I was running up to like top mileage about a month out, and felt like I needed to switch. And I feel like that may have contributed to some of the injury that I had at the last minute.
Sure.
And so, I got a little bit of advice here and there on don't switch shoes, just buy the same kind, because I kind of wanted to explore other options and stuff like that. Most people said not to do that, and just to go, so it was kind of just one of those things where I heard a lot of trust do the long, slow runs, trust the taper plan, have fun, and don't experiment on shoes at the last minute. that was the advice.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's all fantastic advice. I'm curious, did it all work out well? Was your experience from start to finish good, or did you have lows, and what was it like to push through those?
Well, I had a significant low, and I kind of, in my post in the Patreon Facebook page, I kind of alluded to it a little bit, because I started great, and I actually had a buddy that was running the half marathon. And I don't know how it is everywhere else, but in San Antonio, the half marathon and the marathon runs together, and then it splits at mile 12. And so I had a buddy that was running with me, and he pretty much stayed with me the first 12 miles, and everything was ticking really great. It rained a little bit probably like when I was in mile 8 or 9, and I had put some KT tape on my IT band on my leg the night before I got it at the expo, and it started coming off. And at first I didn't know. I've never experimented with that tape before, so I didn't know if it was going to work, or if it was just going to be a placebo effect, or whatever the case may be. But it felt like it was working, and so I split off. I told my buddy, I said, before we ever started the race, I said, at mile 10, I'll know if I can go the whole way or if I need to cut to the half. And when we got to mile 10, I looked at him and I was like, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go the whole way.
Yeah.
So I kept going. And then probably about 13 or 14, the tape started coming off and ultimately came off. And so that's where my low began. I don't know if I did that my leg was going to start hurting. The tape was really working, and it actually started hurting, but I started having a pretty tremendous amount of pain. And I got all the way without stopping to mile 19. And at that point, I was running out of strength in my leg. I felt like my knee was throbbing and everything just hurt really bad. And it was pretty low. Like that was a low point for me, because I knew that if I stopped running, that, that everything would kind of seize up and that I really wouldn't be able to get going again, based off of what had happened in my long runs previously. But I stopped, and that was tough, because I basically walked out the last 6 miles.
Sure.
So my goal time was 4 hours, and through mile 19, I was on pace for 4 hours, maybe slightly higher. And then I just knew it was like, push more, and possibly, I don't know enough to know whether I would have injured myself further or anything, or stop and know that I can walk across the finish line if I have to. And I tried a couple other times to run again. I was done. The lowest of the lowest of the low was probably in like mile 22, 23, where I literally felt like, and I kind of feel it a little bit in my voice right now, but I really felt like I was going to cry. And I'm not a very emotional person, but I was just like, man, I know that I can do this. Cardio wise, I'm there, everything, I'm there, but I literally, every step was pain. Mm-hmm. And then my wife had come down. She had come to the finish line, and she started walking the course backwards, and eventually met me. And she had my son, which I didn't even know that he was going to be there, but that picked me up and helped me get across the finish line. So definitely some highs, definitely some lows. But I got the jacket.
As you're telling the story, you might want to turn your speakers down just a little bit, because I realize my voice is cycling through. Your story is not unlike,
I was going to say,
many stories.
I've been exactly there
100%.
And walking it in, and you walking, very similar, no kid, but you walking back on course.
You're drinking booze, by the way.
At the San Francisco Marathon. It was the same thing. I was feeling great. I was on pace to PR, and I ended up, my issue was I ended up getting sick. I was throwing up. And it was very similar to that, of you can kind of see your PR slip away or your goal slip away, and it gets very emotional. And
marathons aren't easy. It doesn't matter how many you do. And anyone that's like, oh yeah, they're so easy now. They're never easy.
Right.
And it's because of this. It's because of your body somewhere between 19 and 22 will just want to fight back because you're probably pushing the pace or something will go amiss and your body will respond in a certain way. Dude, I'm so stoked for you. You got it done. And you proved the mental side of thing that's what you conquered is the, I'm not going to make my goal. Maybe maybe I'll quit. Yeah. But you said, nah, I'm going to keep going. And you got it done. That's amazing, man.
Well, and you talked about it earlier, and I just wanted to say this real quick. I was going to say it at the start, but you talked about the community and just how everyone in this community is so together. And I literally got out my phone in like mile 23 because I had posted that picture. I had posted that picture of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory blowing the back, the night before, and tons of people commented on it in the Patreon Facebook page, and I literally got it out and started reading the comments, like as I was in like mile 23. Everyone just saying have fun. I think someone even said no matter what, it's a PR. So what I have to show for it now, even though it's difficult, is a 5:18 marathon PR, and that's what my marathon PR is, and that's what I have to beat next time. So yeah, that's the way I'm trying to look at it.
Totally,
it's difficult, but
it is. I mean, totally, man. I get it. Someone in the chat room, Crispin, also just mentioned like I had once ran a marathon. I had the race of my life, did really, really well. I'm thinking I'm on top of the world, and the next marathon completely botched it. I've been there too. I remember the second New York Marathon that I ran. I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy. I just finished a 100-miler.
Yeah.
Like, oh, marathons are nothing. And it was the worst race I've ever had. The worst. So I'm not saying that's going to happen to you. But what I am saying is you can never predict what's going to happen on any given day. But what you've just done is proven that you can get through it no matter what. So Aaron, I'm a big fan of yours, and I think what you did is incredible and a testament to your strength, both physically and mentally. Nice job.
Way to get it done.
Way to get it done. Would you do another one? So that I think I know the answer to that, but I'm curious. Would you do another one, or would you go beyond, or what's next?
I actually went on to a different Facebook group that has a lot of runners in Texas. And I asked yesterday, or actually it was today. I asked today, what's a marathon in the like February to May timeframe? Because I don't want to get too far into the summer. But I would like to do another one. I really want to do something that I want to travel. And like many people that watch your show, I'm sure, ultimately, I really would love to get into ultras. I knew that I wanted to do ultras before I did a marathon, just because I love hiking, I love camping, I love the mountains, trails. That together with my new-ish love for running, I didn't even know what a ultra marathon was before I found the Ginger Runner channel. So it sounded like the last guy, John, was the same way. But so I've looked at some ultras. I don't live far from Bandera. I'm not going to do it this year, but it might be in the bucket for 19. I've thought about I would like to do a destination race. I'm going to throw my name in the lottery for New York.
Sweet.
In January when the lottery opens up. Ones that I'm thinking about doing next year. But yeah, there are a few. Station has a marathon that's pretty popular. The Cowtown Fort Worth Marathon is pretty popular. And that's what a lot of people are saying for the spring. So I'm definitely going to do another one, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Sweet.
Nice and healthy.
I mean, the good thing is that you also have the training, and give yourself some time to celebrate this, because this is a huge victory for you, and you're going into the holidays too, which is perfect. You can just eat everything you want. That's my advice. I'm not a nutritionist, but enjoy this one. Take the time, keep the training, keep the fitness, and you'll be able to apply it to the next one. I'm super stoked for you, man. Another congratulations for Aaron Davis on his very first marathon, the Rock and Roll San Antonio.
Getting the first of any distance under your belt is it's a huge accomplishment, and then you can kind of breathe a little bit and then relax into whatever you want to do after.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I feel.
And you have to wear the medal for what do we say, a week? We have a rule around the house is if it's like a first and it's a big accomplishment, you got to wear the medal for a week, even if you got to wear it.
He's got it there.
Oh, nice. Love it. That's a great medal too. I love that medal. Love it.
It's nice.
Look at that thing.
Oh yeah.
Nice job, man. Earned that one. So of course, as we did with John, we're gonna do it with you, and that is
super excited about this.
What did I call it before? The uber quickie question quiz, the hyper
like
quick,
that.
whatever it was. So this is gonna be your first time with the quickie question. Since you're a first time guest, you get the quickie question quiz. And I want to also point out that we have our next series of guests that will help take us out with the show. And that is Andrew and Mandy Baker. They're going to be telling us all about their first 50Ks, which they ran this fall. But before we introduce them, Mr. Aaron, here we go. You know the drill. Easy questions. First answer that comes to your head. Are you ready?
Got it. Ready.
What was your favorite place to run?
I'm shaking. My favorite place to run is just about anywhere in Austin, Texas right now. It's not too far from me.
Bucket list race.
Marathon, probably New York City. Ultra, I'm really thinking Squamish.
Great choice. Guilty pleasure TV show.
Oh, man. John stole mine. I'm watching Gilmore Girls for the first time right now.
I am blown away at the number of Gilmore Girls responses. I'm happy with it because it's
why? Why are you happy?
It's a good show. It's a fine show. What is your pre-race meal? What did you eat right before the marathon?
I ate a pasta dish that my wife made the night before, and then a bagel with peanut butter and bananas the morning of.
And your post-race indulgence?
Sleep.
Great answer. And I'll finish out the quiz because we didn't actually ask John this, and I regret. But what did you run the marathon in? What shoes did you run the marathon in?
Zoom Pegasus 34s.
Nice. The new
which
Zoom.
I had the 33s that I ran the half in last year. That's what I had been running in. So I bought those new about a month out and broke them in and ran those.
Nice work, man. Congratulations to you. Aaron Davis finishing his very first marathon, and a big shout out to him and to the community. Thank you, my friend. Well done.
Thanks, guys.
You got it. He'll actually be joining us as well in the post show. So if you are a Patreon supporter, you'll want to do the post show with us today because we're going to have all of our guests from tonight's show hopefully jump in, including John. He might be on a call, but we're going to hope that he can join us. I can now get to introduce our final two guests of the show tonight. I'm very excited. Andrew and Mandy Baker just completed their first 50K. They ran different 50Ks, but I'm excited to find out what got them into it, how they got through it, and maybe any advice that they would have for additional first-timers who are looking to do this distance for the first time. So without any further ado, Andrew and Mandy Baker.
Yay!
Where are you guys coming to us from?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Is it 130 degrees there?
No.
Yeah, not anymore. Like, I feel like last time I was down there, it was super warm. My blood is now used to the Pacific Northwest, so anything feels warm, but I'm surprised at how well the heat retention is down there. Who finished the first 50K first? So was it a competition between you two to finish a 50K first?
No.
No. She was in charge the whole time. She was a month whole training.
Have you guys been running together for a long time, or did one of you get the other one into the sport?
I suppose I probably spearheaded it. I had a friend decide that we were going to all do a half marathon, and then they bailed on me. So I was left doing the training by myself, and actually saw, I think it was your Gorge 50K video while I was doing some of my training. And we started binge watching all of those videos. And that kind of brought us into this world of ultra running, and thought, we need to do that.
Now, you both live in Phoenix. I know that both of the races that you ran are Aravaipa running races. Jameel Curry, a friend of ours and a friend of the show. Now, Mandy, you ran the Cave Creek Thriller 50K, which that's October, right? So what was the training like for that for you? Because, I mean, were you training all summer? I know it gets super hot there in the summer. So how were you acclimating your training and getting in the mileage?
Just getting out there as early as I could. I knew that it was going to be an early start, but I mean, trying to at least get in some training while it was over 100 degrees. And then just, using sun protection, like wearing long sleeves, even though it seems counterintuitive, wearing long sleeves makes a huge difference in the sun. So, and cooling yourself. So like spraying water all over yourself. So.
Yeah. And Andrew, for you, the McDowell Mountain Frenzy 50K, did you sign up for this before or after Mandy finished hers?
I think officially I signed up after, but what we did early on when we decided we were going to do this, and she was ahead in the training anyway, we said, okay, well, pick the race that you're going to do.
Yeah.
And I'll pick one about a month later. And so I knew mostly the whole time, so for 6 months, that's the one I was going to do. I didn't actually sign up for it until a few weeks ago.
And what I'm excited to talk to you two about is being a team. I mean, essentially, are you there supporting each other? Were you crewing one another during your respective races, or how was the partnership? How did that come into play in the success of the events?
Yeah, so we did a lot of our training runs together, and would just, Andrew would often prepare a cooler so that we could just do loops from our vehicle and do that during training. During my race, he was able to meet me at the halfway point and kind of crew for me there. During his race, there weren't any aid stations that were accessible, so he was kind of on his own as far as my assistance goes.
Yeah.
I want to remind everyone watching live tonight that we're joined by a number of guests from the community, from the viewers themselves, who are completing their very first marathon, first 50K, and our two guests that we're talking to right now just completed their first 50Ks respectively. What's the chat room saying, Kim? How are they? I know that there's some side conversation. People are talking about their first races and stuff like that. What's going on in the live chat?
There's a little bit of talk right now. Actually, Boris brought it up. Question for everyone: what do you enjoy more, running alone or in company? So that kind of goes.
Yeah. That's actually a great question for our two guests here. Yeah. Which do you prefer? And you can both answer this: running together or running on your own? Because Kim and I have been training a lot together lately too, and we love it.
We hate it.
I mean, we both hate it. Which do you prefer? And either way.
I definitely love running with company, but I had no problem being alone either, which I think was a big benefit going into this race, knowing that there was going to be a good chance that I'd be running by myself, that there wouldn't be anybody else around.
Yeah.
I think for me, so I like a little bit of both. There was, and Mandy mentioned that we'll go and run the same area and have, when it's as hot as it is, I can't run more than about 5 miles without refilling my water and ice and doing those sorts of things. And so we'd see one another, even if we weren't running together, we'd see one another on the trail or at the aid station we had set up. But for me, I like running with people, but it's also it's a mental health thing for me too. So sure. Going out there and being by myself, that's absolutely fine with me. So, and I think also not having my race, knowing that there's no crew at all, I was pretty well prepared for that actually.
That's great. So your training actually helped in that sense to complete the race. Again, this is something I love asking people who are running their first distance because it's probably fresh in their mind, but I'm really curious what the toughest part for you individually was during your respective races. And maybe what can you take from that to help maybe someone else looking to run their first ultra, since you were both now, by the way, you're both ultra runners, which is pretty awesome. So what was the toughest part from your respective races, and maybe what sort of advice could you glean from that for our viewers?
I think
Mandy, we'll start with you.
Toughest part for me was definitely the heat, which, I mean, you can't really get away from unless you're running in the winter here. But really what I learned from it is just to slow down and keep eating even when your body tells you that you don't want to put one more thing down the hatch. You just need to keep eating. And it's okay if you're going a little bit slower because, you're still moving.
Yep, absolutely. Forward progress, relentless. Mm-hmm. What about you, Andrew?
There was a stretch that was 10.5 miles between aid stations, and it was a lot of uphill. The day started out cloudy, and I didn't fill my bladder at the last aid station. I ran out of water about 4 miles to go to the next aid station up a never-ending hill. The sun had come out and it got really hot.
Oh man.
So I broke it down and went, okay, I have to make this work. I have to figure it out. And so instead of focusing on the end of the race, I broke it down to I got to get to that aid station. I just brought my goal, my short-term goal, that much closer, and said, okay, well, I'll figure out what's after that when I get there.
It's awesome. For both of you, I guess, how much did problem solving play a role in the success of your finish? Mandy, let's start with you.
For me, I knew that I don't do well if I just try and keep pushing hard. In the heat, my heart rate just goes way too high and I can't get it back down. So I knew that once I was hot, I had no other choice but to just slow down and keep pushing forward that way. And just to try and have fun and enjoy myself, because I saw lots of what I explained to Andrea, lots of carnage out there, like people just looking absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
And I think there was like 15% of the people
between
dropped.
15 and 20% drop rate on that race.
And so just to try and ignore the suffering that everybody else was going through, because I knew that everybody was going through it. I just didn't need to focus on their suffering. I can only control mine. So.
Before we get to your response to that, Andrew, I think Kim has a live question before the chat room moves beyond her ability to read it.
Yeah, a question from Morgan in the chat room. Do you guys ever get competitive with each other?
Great question.
I don't think so. Do you get competitive?
I don't. No. It's much more. I don't think neither one of us is really competitive not outwardly competitive by nature anyway. So it's much more supportive and shared victories, and it's a team.
Sweet. Kim, go ahead.
Yeah, another question in the chat room. This one is for Mandy, and comes from Christine. Mandy, how long was it between your first half marathon and your first ultra?
It was 9 months.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, it's actually a pretty good amount of time to make the build up to the mileages and stuff like that. I'm also curious, because these are huge successes. It's really difficult to finish the 50Ks, because it's especially your first one, because it's your first ultra distance, and it's a distance that is beyond what you've experienced in a marathon, which is in most people's minds like the longest race you could ever run. So when you jump into the ultra world, you realize, whoa, it's not even remotely the case. So what was the best moment for you? We get different stories from everyone that runs their first ultra. I'm curious. Andrew, let's start with you. What was your best memory from this event?
I have two. So my best one, I was about, this course is a little bit longer. It's about 32 miles. And I had pushed through a lot of trouble, a lot of difficulty, and I made it to the top of a hill. And it was the first time that I was able to see the tents and the finish line and, the crowd that was there. And it was really close. I genuinely stopped. I was at the top of the hill, and I stopped running, and I just went, "Oh my God! Oh wait! I have to keep going." And that was it was really neat. I was really excited to be done. I knew I was going to finish at that point, and was really happy about it.
Sweet. Mandy?
Best moment, I'd say just finishing, like having a smile on my face the whole time, and seeing that, there was one small section that I guess course markers had been removed. So I had a couple of runners coming back toward me. I'm like, "Where are you guys going?" They're like, "We're lost. We don't know where we're going." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I know the trail." So just kind of like leading their way and getting to experience that with other people and making new friendships. That was a lot of fun.
Would either of you ever run an ultra again?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's worth mentioning. So was it John that had been running since he was 14, one of the first guests.
Yep.
Neither one of us have. We started running a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And mine was about a year ago. We'd done couch to 5K once or twice previously, but that was it. So that's different for me because we see people that are from marathon to this, and we see people that are used to doing triathlons to this. And for us, I've never, and I told Mandy that after I got done, I've never asked my body or mind to do anything like that before.
Sure.
I've never run a marathon. In fact, my longest race was an 8K, 10K, something like that. Yeah, it's different.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, I think that's also what's unique about this show and the guests that we've had on is everyone's history and everyone's journey will be different. And I don't want anyone watching to be like, oh, well, I've been running my whole life, or I haven't been running my whole life, and I can't do this because of this.
Right.
I think our guests tonight and our guests on so many of our shows have proven that it doesn't matter what mindset you have or where you are in your life, what age you are, what size you are.
When you started running.
It doesn't matter, because the reality is if you want it, and in this case, Andrew, you wanted it, you got it done. And I didn't realize that your longest run or your longest race was an 8K. That's fantastic. You're like, I don't need to do a half marathon or a marathon. I'm going ultra. That's badass, man. That's awesome. How did it, I guess, how did that feel when you crossed that finish line, knowing that you skipped the normal progression? I'm putting quotes. People can't see, but I'm putting quotes on normal progression. What was that like for you? That's a big accomplishment.
I can't hardly stand to run on the road. For me, it has to be trails. During the week, occasionally I have to run on the road, but
Sure.
if I can help it, I don't do that. And so early on, I decided I'm not running a half marathon. I'm not running a marathon. I'll do that in my training runs, but that's going to be on the trail, and I'm going to take care of it that way. But crossing that finish line, you know what? I was surprised. It actually meant something when I finished, and I went, hey, this is kind of neat. And it's that I asked a lot of myself, and I was able to get it done.
Yeah. I'm so stoked for you both. I think this is awesome, and I love that you're still inspired by it. People are always afraid that if they run an ultra or something, they're push themselves so hard that they will never want to do it again.
Right.
But obviously tonight also proves that once you do something like this, it is a bit of a gateway. So it's a slippery slope where you'll want to do it again. I'm so proud of you two. I think it's fantastic. Round of applause for Andrew and Mandy Baker. Well done, you two. I now get to do the honors of asking you the quickie question quiz. Since you are first-time guests of the show, this is the quickie question quiz, the abbreviated version. You let me know when you're ready. Give me the thumbs up, and we'll just rip through these questions. Great. Favorite, and we'll start with, we'll go Andrew, then Mandy for the answers. Favorite place to run currently?
The Phoenix Mountain Preserve.
Maricopa Trail.
Bucket list race?
Anything Gary Robbins?
I'd say Hard Rock.
Favorite, I didn't ask the other to guess this, but favorite running movie?
Where Dreams Go to Die.
Ding, 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 ding.
That is the correct answer. Mandy, you also get the correct answer by default. So
actually, mine is Amongst the Evergreens.
Oh, also a correct answer. It's a multiple choice.
I hear that one's okay.
I hear it's okay. Guilty pleasure TV show? Gilmore Girls.
What did I say it was?
I don't know.
I don't know that I have.
That's okay.
For me, it's The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh man,
We love that show. So underrated. Yeah, so underrated. Andrew, pre-race meal. What did you eat before your 50K?
The morning of, I had oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
Good choice. And finally, post-race indulgence. What's the first thing you indulged on?
Ooh, it took me a while. What did I end up eating first?
I don't know. Pizza, I think.
A piece of pizza.
Classic choice.
Yeah, pizza. What I really wanted was a soft pretzel with cheese dip, but to no avail. Andrew could not find one, even after going to four gas stations.
That's rare. 4 gas stations wouldn't have one of those. And
that's also like very supportive of you to go to 4
gas stations. Yeah. The last question will be, what running kicks did you wear? What shoes? Andrew?
Saucony Peregrine.
Nice.
And Nike Wild Horse 3.
Good choice, both of them. Excellent. Congratulations, you two, on completing your first 50Ks. You are ultra runners. That was fantastic. So I want to remind everyone watching live that we are going to be doing a post show with our guests tonight. Andrew, Mandy, John, and Aaron will be joining. Well, John, hopefully. John is currently on call. He's a paramedic, so hopefully he's not on call. So he can join us in the post show. But if you would like to join us in the post show and get to interact with our guests, our live viewers, actually, they are viewers of the show, and they're now actually on the show, which is pretty cool. You can do so. Just go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner. For as little as $1 a month, you get to participate in all of our post shows with all of our guests each and every week. It's a pretty screaming deal, and it supports the channel, which is great. Speaking of supporting the channel, a big shout out again to Chris Lee from Hong Kong, Brian Sands, and Rick Bjarnason. Those 3 individuals have been helping this show run for the last couple of months now, week after week after week at the top tier of Patreon support. And we wouldn't be doing this without them. I mean, it's been fantastic. So thank you, 3, for helping us out. And am I forgetting anything?
Did you post the link? People are asking for the link for the post show.
I did. I posted it. It
should be there, you guys.
It's on Patreon now. So I will confirm that once we go off air here. But yes, it is. It has been posted. It was posted during the main show here.
Great.
We want to remind everyone, Gingermas. It is December. Gingermas is happening, and it's coming up very, very soon. There will be a website and some explanation. There'll be a video and eventual stuff like that that will explain everything for this year's Gingermas. We have confirmation that we will be giving away a Nordic Gary Robbins. We will be giving away Gary Robbins, a Nordic Track incline trainer.
For the 3rd year
in a row.
They
love Gingermas, and they are hooking it up this year. We're going to talk all about that prize in the future episode. Nordic Track is like super gracious for hooking us up with that to give away for the grand prize, plus gear from the North Face, Solomon, and a lot more. I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars of stuff that we're giving away for Gingermas this year. As a thank you to the community for supporting the show. Even if you're not on Patreon, it's totally cool. We just want to give back. So that's pretty much it. That is it for the show now as well. Ginger Runner Live, episode number 191 is now complete. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Get out there, train hard, race harder, and party the hardest. We're going to get ready for the post show with our guests.
I know I am.
All right, we'll see you guys in a couple seconds for post show. Ginger Runner.